I'm David Crossett, founder of RV Masters, and this video that you're about to watch comes from the RV Masters Buyer's Track video series. It is a series all about buying an RV, and I promise you this information is not available anywhere else. Check that out at rvmasters.com and have a great time watching. I'm David Crossett, founder of RV Masters, and in this video, we're going to talk about the difference between buying new or used. A lot of people will advise you to buy a used RV instead of a new one, but there's actually a lot of great reasons to buy either one. It just depends on how those details are going to affect you. In this video, when I talk about a used RV, I may be talking about either a used from a dealer or used from a private sale. I'll try to be clear about which one I'm talking about when it does matter. This video boils down to a list of facts and things to consider. I'm going to cover the pros and the cons of buying used, and then the pros and the cons of buying new. At the end, I'll discuss a few other topics you might want to consider when buying used or new. Now, here are the positives of buying used. Usually the number one reason for buying used is to save money, letting somebody else take that depreciation hit on the RV instead of you. In general, that will be true, but there's actually a window that you want to be aware of and that you want to stay in for that to be true. So here's the breakdown on depreciation. You're going to take a 20% hit as soon as you drive it off the lot. If you have a brand new RV, drive it off the lot, 20% right in that first year. In the second year, you're going to take another 20% hit. Then every 3 months, every quarter, you're going to take a 1% hit until you get to year 10. In the 10th year, you're going to take another 20% hit. So that's 20 the first year, 20 the second year, 1% every 3 months, and then 20 in the 10th year. Now the sweet spot is right at the third year. And that is because it's already taken its 2 major depreciation hits, but it's still as new as it can be after having taken those hits. Also, it's already had the bugs worked out. By year 3, they've already worked out anything that might have been wrong coming from the factory. Now remember that depreciation is really just putting a price on your fun. If I lose $10,000 in 2 years, that means I spent roughly $5,000 per year in vacations, which for many people would be very reasonable and totally worth it. So don't fear depreciation. Instead, just make sure that you have enough fun to justify the ultimate cost of the thing. You might get more thrown in, hoses, hitches, accessories. You might end up getting more for your money when you buy used. Another pro is that if you're buying from a dealer, they have way more room to wiggle. They probably punched someone in the face when they brought it in for a trade, and now it's nearly all margin. Now, in general, salespeople make way more gross on a used RV than a new one. In most situations, the salesperson would much rather sell a used unit over a new one if he can. Now, here are some downsides to buying used. It can be harder to get financed. It's hard to get financed for anything that's older than about 10 years. The bank does not like that age, and the NADA value begins to separate quite a bit from the value of the RV, so it can be hard to finance a used RV. Another downside to buying used is that if it wasn't taken care of, and even in some cases if it was, you are inheriting dying appliances, rusting tanks, sensors that are starting to go out. A lot of these components age just sitting. So an actively used RV is actually going to be a better deal than an RV that's been sitting in a garage for 3 or 4 years. So these age just sitting, whether they're being used or not. Now, although many RV parts are the same as they've been for years and years, an older RV may have some parts that are hard to get or very expensive. Structural stuff can be hard or impossible to repair. Repairing a leaking slide or a damaged wall could cost as much as a whole new RV. Another issue could be that it's easy to buy a problem when you don't know what to look for, and most people don't. So RVs can hide a lot of their problems if you don't know what you're looking for. And then no matter how well they're cared for, you are probably dealing with dead batteries and bad tires at a minimum. That's not always the case, but at a minimum, batteries and tires are probably not any good on a used RV. Again, financing can be hard. If it's too old, you won't even get finance for it at all. Sometimes on an RV, a motorized RV, even 60,000 miles is considered high usage on a gas, like a Class C, for example. 60,000 miles to a bank, they're going to start pushing back and saying that that's high usage. Now, the gas versions of motorized RVs, those engines are working really hard. They're running hard all the time. So depending on the mileage, they can be much closer to a rebuild than you think they are. Now, when you buy private, another issue could be that it could be a little bit more difficult to get service because you don't have a home dealer. A lot of dealers like to stick to only their own brands that they support or their own customers. And so buying an older brand, maybe a brand that doesn't even exist anymore, or something that's got, you know, some one-offs or some different issues, you might struggle getting that kind of thing serviced than if you bought, you know, from a dealer. Another thing that you don't know is you don't know the previous owners. You don't know animals were in it, children were in it. If you've got allergies, you know, you might not know what's in there. So when you're buying used, a lot of times you don't have the history or they're not the original owner. So sometimes you're not quite sure what's in there. Now, when you buy used, you also want to consider, where are you taking this? Many RV parks nowadays will not let you stay in the park with an RV that is 10 years or older. That's how they try to keep it nice. And so no matter how nice your RV is, if it's 10 years or older, there will be certain RV parks that you can't get into. So just make sure you know that. Now, here's some pros for buying new. You get a warranty. Now, this isn't as awesome as it sounds. Of course, I've said quite a bit about that and I have videos on it, but you do get a warranty, so it is something. Now, you also get the new car smell. That's really important. It's really nice to have that new car smell in your new RV. The other advantage is nobody else has used it. Nobody's been in it. For some people, that actually is a really big deal. Maybe they really worry about germs or other people's cooties. And so it's really nice to know that nobody else has been in this. You also get the latest bells and whistles. All the latest technologies, all the stuff that people have come up with, you're gonna find that in a new RV versus a used. And then one of the biggest pros to buying new, they're actually easier to finance. I mean, as crazy as that is, when you buy new, especially from a dealer, those loans sail right through. If a couple of check boxes are marked, it's much easier to get financing on a new RV. So here's some of the cons to buying new. There's something called lot rot. New RVs spend a lot of time outside and in the sun before they're built and before they're sold. The chassis for these, both motorized and towable, in many cases has sat in the sun for months from the time it was built to the time it was actually sold to a manufacturer and the RV was actually built on top of the chassis. And then it sat outside again waiting, for the transport or whatever else has to happen with the dealer. So you want to make sure that you check the date code on the tires. And you'll see that even a brand new RV or a brand new trailer, those tires can be a year old. Even though to you it's new, they've already burned a year off their life. Not to mention, they've been sitting in the sun unused for maybe months, which is one of the most damaging things that you can do to tires. Now, many people don't know that tires age out before they wear out. So your new RV might need new tires 50% faster than you expected. Now, the frame is also exposed to the elements for a long time before you buy it. When I bought my new motorhome, there was already rust underneath the chassis as well as the chrome fittings on the engines and the generator exhaust. There were also a few rust spots on the baggage doors. Now, this is normal, but it's not ideal. So new doesn't mean new in the way that you think that it does. Again, regarding lot rot, one of the most expensive ongoing costs and important components of your RV are the batteries. It is very often the case that these have sat on the lot dead day after day. Dealerships do not maintain proper charging of these batteries in most cases. My 6 house batteries were completely dead and I replaced all 6 of them within the first 2 months of buying my RV. I should have had the dealer replace them as part of the deal, and there's more on that in some future videos. Now, every RV has bugs to work out, especially new RVs. You are not avoiding downtime or service by buying new. You may even be in the shop more than your friends who have a used RV when you have a new RV. Another con to new is that you take the depreciation hit, which is fine if that's worth it to you. We'll get into that more in the future here. Now, here are some of the other points that I thought that I would bring up in this video. When I purchased my RV, it was presented to me as new. Towards the end of the sale, they informed me that another guy had bought it, but he only had it for a month or less. During the paperwork portion, they quickly marked the used checkbox instead of the new checkbox. They gave me some quick explanation as to why they did that, and I should just let it go. What I didn't know is that I lost the support of the manufacturer because they didn't see me as the original owner. It was registered to somebody else. So making claims on the original warranty was very problematic for me. So watch out for that. Make sure that you don't think you're buying a new unit and it's actually a used unit. I can't imagine this happens too much, but it burned me, so I just thought I'd share that with you. Now here's another side to this used as new coin, and that is this. Don't buy new just because you're gonna get a warranty. The warranty isn't worth what you think it is and will often need to be supplemented by paid work or claims against your extended service contract. Paying for a new RV just to get the 1-year bumper-to-bumper warranty will probably not justify the cost. So make sure you're buying new for other reasons than just that. When you buy used, you want to hear the history and the maintenance, whether it's a private sale or whether from a dealer. Don't be afraid of hearing the long list of things that have been worked on. That is good. You want to hear that. If you buy a used one and they say that they didn't do anything to it, that is not good. You are probably inheriting serious problems. Neglect is a huge problem, and water damage is the biggest one. You don't come back from water damage. You can nearly destroy an entire RV with a gallon of water. If you are considering buying a used motorized unit, you must get an oil sample. Even from a dealer, get an oil sample and take it to another party for analysis. It's hard to manipulate an oil sample, and that will tell you a lot about the health of an engine, and this is especially true for gas engines. I recently read an article by a professional organization, and they did a study, and they found that nearly 32% of engines that they randomly checked were showing signs of extreme wear and imminent failure. So don't just trust the test drive, get an oil sample and have it analyzed. I know it's a pain, but so is a weak or blown engine in a $20,000 to $50,000 used RV purchase. Here's my last point on used RVs. It really isn't a bad idea to get an inspector to check it out, even if you have to fly the guy out there to do it. There are organizations that have inspectors for hire, such as RVinspectionconnection.com. I don't know or endorse that website, but it is a website that I'm aware of that has inspectors for hire. This might cost a few dollars, but if you think about it, we pay way more for home inspections, and you might be spending as much on your next RV as a small home. So there you have it. That's my breakdown of buying new versus used. I'm sure there are other advantages and disadvantages, but this is the bulk of it and should give you enough to think about when you consider buying your next RV. Now let's move on to some more specifics about buying that RV. Now remember, that video that you just watched came from the RV Masters Buyer's Track series, what you need to know about buying an RV. That information is going to help you pick the right RV and save thousands and thousands when you actually buy it. Check that out at rvmasters.com.